What's up, dudes? I'm not going to the auction today because there was nothing that I particularly needed. I'm going to do some tinkering on the old Miata. Let's see, let's not get hit by a van that's backing out. I'm going to do some tinkering on the old Miata. When I installed my Revlimiter Gauge faces, I set the gas gauge wrong, basically. And I screwed up the installation of the corner indicators, which on my gauge set is high beams, and the check engine light. I didn't really care about the check engine light anyway because it's on all the time because of an EGR valve that is faulty, and by faulty I mean in a box in my garage. So I didn't really care that the check engine light didn't work, but since my Mega Squirt is incoming at some point soon, I thought it'd be a good idea to repair them, and you know, high beam indicators are neat anyway. So that's what I'm gonna do. Right now, I'm going to the gas station to fill it up with gas for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting 93 in it. Number two, when I screwed up the gas gauge, it's because I did not follow the instructions. The way you're supposed to do it is fill the car up completely, and then drive around for 5 or 10 minutes so that the needle goes all the way over to full, and then stick the needle on, and then it'll be correct, because you know, you can set it to full is full. Pretty simple, right? Well, I thought I could guess close enough to where it was. I took a picture before and after, and yeah, it doesn't actually work right. It only goes up to about 3/4 of the way. So I'm gonna fill the car up with gas and then drive it a little bit to remedy that. Then I'm gonna pull my cluster back out, reset those needles, and see if I can do anything about the corner indicators. So that's my plan. So, trying something a little bit different while I drive around to let my gas gauge settle in. This is obviously showing out the front of the car, and I'm recording this with the Media Mod on. On the way here, I had it facing me using the front microphone, which makes sense. In this situation, I am going to have it facing outward using the rear microphone. I don't know what's going to be the better balance, if this is even going to be like acceptable audio levels once I'm moving, or you know, basically I don't really know how it's going to work, because there's also a stereo that records both microphones at once, front, rear, side, all of that. That I feel like stereo is going to get too much background noise and wind noise and shit, but I'm not entirely sure, so I figured I should test it. So if this light ever turns green, there we go. This is rear mic. We get up to 45-ish. There we go. That's 45 miles an hour on the rear mic. So here in a second, I will switch over to stereo and see how that goes. Okay, this is gonna be the stereo mic test. Try to get the hell out of here. You know, had to run some important errands. Super important. Stereo mics, and I'm going to go up to 45 again. That's 45 in stereo mode. Oh, there we go. There's 5th gear, so there's less engine noise. Okay, first thing in our order of operations is going to be to pull my cluster back out. Since I already detailed this in an earlier video, I'm just going to do the time warp thing. There's 3 bolts under the steering column to take the column cover off, and then you do a sharp pull back on the gauge hood, and there's 4 bolts that hold the cluster in. It's pretty simple. Okay, that didn't take too long. Got the cluster out. I'm gonna go take it inside and see if I can fix my screw ups. Here's the gist of the problem. The way these relocation things work, put these 2 wires under the old socket and they run up to the new socket where the check engine light and high beams have been located to. That side is That's check engine. I don't think, yeah, there you go. You can see it. That's check engine. And then over here, this would be the high beam indicator getting power from here. And then moving it over to here. But I've done something wrong. I think the problem was when I first did this, I didn't have any wire strippers at my house. And there's not really, you can't really see, but there's not really a lot of wire exposed there. So I think it's not making a good connection because the wire needs to be stripped back a little bit. So that's the method that I'm going to attempt. These are some Vice Grip branded, Jesus Christ, I can't talk. These are some Vice Grip branded wire strippers and cutters and crimpers. I bought them in anticipation of my Mega Squirt install because they were pretty cheap on Amazon, and I've actually used this exact pair before and they work fine. You know, they're standard wire strippers, so that's what I'm going to go with. Now let's see, I think like 16 gauge. There we go. Now I have some wire to work with. This one wasn't as bad, so I'm going to strip that much off. Let's see if I can make them cooperate better now that I have more actual like exposed wire to work with. So here's a little cap. You can see the metal contacts on either side. That's what they need to touch. And then those metal contacts need to touch on the metal printed circuit board. Okay, that seems better. Which one is that one? The check engine light? I might go and stick this in and plug it in and see if the check engine light comes on. Let's try that before I do the other one, see if I broke anything. Okay, let's try this out. Still no check engine light. It's actually kind of baffling. I know it's got a good connection now. I don't really know what the deal is. I'm gonna try and screw around with the wires. Didn't get it to work, but did almost rip my thumbnail off, so that's pretty cool. Now I got Daisy on the case, trying to switch the wires around. So far nothing works out, and it's very frustrating. This is seriously like attempt number 12 to get this shit to work, and I've tried every configuration of wires and putting them inside the little holder and keeping them outside the little holder and pressing them down to the contacts on the printed circuit board. Video that I'm actually going to cut out here because I did a bunch of wrong things, it didn't work, and basically just made this more of an ass ache. If you Google the directions for the corner indicators for the Revlimiter gauges, you will actually get a result that is for the old ones before he sent the plugs. So that tells you to cut the cut the strip off of the printed circuit board that comprises the back of your gauges, interrupt it. And it doesn't actually matter, but now he sends plugs that don't have copper on the bottom where it goes into the old one. So it doesn't actually, into the new one. So it doesn't actually matter because there's nothing to make contact there. The wiring is in from the back. It's not like a contact thing onto the printed circuit board. So I'm going to skip a bunch of that shit. The short version is I tried 40 different times. I shortened the length of the actual exposed wire. I lengthened the length of the exposed wire. I tried bending it over. I tried putting it flat down. I tried flattening it out. I don't honestly even know what worked. The best thing that I came up with was make the exposed wire relatively short and put the thing that you're stealing the power from, the original location, kind of almost in there, and then just stick the wires into the two little slots and then press it down and turn it. That worked for the check engine light, but nothing worked for the high beam indicators. So I don't really know what the deal with that was. I think that at the end of the day, the solution is actually going to be to pull everything back apart and solder the wires onto the contact
for the old one, like where it's getting power from, solder the wires to that contact. I think that's the only way it's ever going to really work. Or maybe something's wrong with something of mine. I'm not sure, but I know the high beam indicators worked on the stock gauges, and I know that I'm clearly doing it basically right because the check engine light works now that I've fixed it for the relocated corner indicators. But for some reason I just cannot make the damn high beam light work, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things is a good thing to not work, really. If something's not going to work, high beam indicator is like probably the least important light on the car, if we're being completely honest. But since I'm a crazy person, it still honestly bugs the shit out of me. So I'm going to keep thinking about it, and I might, I'm going to wait until I'm much less annoyed than today. But at some point, probably relatively soon, I'll probably pull it back apart and solder it. That's about it. I still love the gauges, but man, that corner indicator stuff is not cool. If soldering it works, I might email the dude that does the Revlimiter gauges, Adam, and suggest maybe, like, I don't care. I'll send him some from a junkyard if I can find them, if he wants to solder them and send them like already assembled, because if soldering works and if he sent you the already assembled things, that would be like such a cakewalk. I think that's going to be like the real way to do it. But yeah, that sucked. That sucked a lot. And I'm glad to be done with it for now, though I'm sure I will delve back into it again like the insane person that I am. Anyway, I've got a bunch of turbo decisions to make coming up pretty damn soon, hopefully, depending on how fast my other stuff ships. So here's me getting groceries and rambling about turbo things. Enjoy.
I'm picking up some groceries and dropping some off at my parents' house, so I thought I would take this opportunity to expand on my newest conundrum. Basically, I can't decide between two different turbo options for the Miata. Everything else is pretty much lined up. I've got the Mega Squirt still theoretically on the way. It showed waiting on stock for a while, and then for a couple of days it showed packing, and then after the weekend it went back to waiting on stock, which is mildly frustrating to say the least. That is from Bofi Racing. I guess it's Bofi, it might be B-O-F-I, whatever. I'm gonna say Bofi because it's fun to say. So, still waiting on the Mega Squirt, but I went with the MS3 Basic from MS Labs, so that's all set up. For injectors, I'm gonna go with the Flow Force 640s. Should leave me plenty of headroom, and they're like the newest design of injectors, so they idle well and all that good stuff. So, okay, that's cool. So now I basically just need the hardware for the turbo system, the manifold and exhaust hot side, and then the intercooler and blow-off valve and stuff like that, the cold side. I have two options, and I'm kind of torn between them. I have the MKturbo option, which has the advantage of it ships from the US, so it's probably going to be faster than the other one, which I will get to in a minute. It is the complete thing. It includes the turbo, manifold, downpipe, full exhaust, and then intercooler and full intake piping. So it would be everything I need except for injectors. The downsides to the MKturbo kit are it doesn't use a real Garrett turbo. It uses a Chinese knockoff T3, which is a little on the big side for my power goals, but you know, kind of nice to have headroom. But then again, that headroom should theoretically come at the expense of spool and responsiveness. So that's option one. Also, it's not stainless, the exhaust, is it? It's aluminized or whatever, basically treated mild steel. So, and the manifold isn't cast. It's like a fabricated manifold, like made out of, you know, Weldells, basically. So that's option one. That will run me like $2,400, and that includes everything. Option two is to go with the Kraken kit. It would be $1,300 for just the hot side from them. That would be turbo manifold, the turbo elbow, can I not say elbow? Turbo manifold, turbo elbow, and then downpipe and full exhaust. It is all stainless, doesn't include the turbo or anything, and that's $1,300. I would need to add to that about another $1,000-ish from Bofi Racing, and that would get me their intercooler kit, their which includes the intercooler hoses, a blow-off valve, and a Garrett GT 2560R. So the upside to this is that it's a real Garrett turbo and it's a ball bearing turbo. It is a cast manifold, which I actually prefer. A lot of people like tubular manifolds, but I honestly prefer cast for a street car. They're more reliable, they will last longer. I think they spool better-ish in most actual real-world cases, like street driving, because they retain heat better. And I am getting full stainless exhaust, which would also be nice. The downsides to this is that I'm basically piecing these together from two different vendors, even though, as far as I can tell, they are pretty well, like, explicitly made to work together. I'm still getting half from one person, half from another, and then I've got to, like, go back over it and look through, like, okay, what am I missing? What piece of this is missing? Like, so there's going to be something, like, off the top of my head, I think that that wouldn't include any kind of intake. So, in other words, on the compressor side of the turbo, the air inlet, I would need to come up with some kind of solution, ranging from the very easiest of stick a filter directly onto the turbo to coming up with my own kind of like cold air-ish intake to put it over there kind of behind the headlight, which isn't all that challenging. It's pretty easy to do, but still, there's just one more thing before you can get it running, you know. So that is, to me, a downside, that it's not just everything in one box or one shipment or whatever. So, kind of torn between the two. The pricing is damn near identical when you start to add everything up. It's effectively $2,500 for either one, so that's kind of a wash. So there's things I like about the MKturbo, and there's things I like about going with the Kraken, plus the Bofi Racing intercooler and wastegate, or blow-off valve rather. So I don't know. If anybody watching this has either built a Kraken kit using the intercooler and stuff from Bofi Racing, then let me know. Or if you have an MKturbo setup, let me know. Let me know if there's anything about either setup you liked, disliked, would do differently, if you would buy it again, or if you would try the other one, you know. Basically, just give me your opinion down in the comments. And until then, I'm going to keep reading MiataTurbo.net obsessively until I come to a decision, or my Mega Squirt shows up and I'm basically forced to. At which point I'll just flip a coin. So, okay. I think that's about it. Something to think about.